The city of Veltrex 9 was always loud, always crowded. But today, the noise felt sharper, heavier. In the middle of the grand square, hundreds of aliens gathered, their faces showing anger. Metal platforms stood tall, and on one of them, there was a prisoner. She was not like the others. Her skin was smooth and silver blue, her hair long and white like snow, her eyes glowing a soft purple light, chains wrapped around her arms and legs. Holding her in place, her head was down, but her body shivered in fear. This was not an ordinary criminal. She was something more. A human mercenary named Ethan moved through the crowd, silent, watching. He was tall, wearing black combat armor, a plasma rifle slung over his shoulder. Ethan had been paid to protect this city. But today, something felt wrong. People shouted, "Traitor! Execute her! Let her burn!" Ethan narrowed his eyes. He had fought many battles, seen many things. But this felt off. Why would they execute someone so young, someone who didn't even look dangerous? His earpiece buzzed. "Mercenary Ethan, stand by. Execution starts in 2 minutes," said a voice from command. Ethan ignored it. His gaze focused on the prisoner, and then something strange happened in the middle of all that noise. Ethan felt a whisper, a soft voice inside his mind, not from his gums, not from his suit. It said, "Help me." Ethan froze. He looked around, wondering if he imagined it. But his eyes landed on her again, the alien girl, and her glowing eyes were now looking directly at him. "Help me," the voice repeated, softer this time, desperate. Ethan's heart beat faster. He didn't believe in psychic powers, never trusted them. But this felt real. The executioner stepped onto the platform, a tall alien wearing dark armor, holding a plasma blade. He raised the blade, and the crowd cheered louder. Ethan's jaw tightened. His hand moved toward his rifle without thinking. 1 second passed, 2 seconds. Then Ethan stepped forward, shouting, "Stop!" The crowd fell silent. Turning their eyes toward him, the executioner paused, confused. Ethan climbed onto the platform slowly, every step echoing, "Human mercenary, what is this?" The executioner growled. Ethan didn't answer with words. Instead, he pulled his plasma rifle from his shoulder and aimed it directly at the executioner's face. Gasps filled the air. Some aliens backed away in fear, others grabbed weapons. But no one fired yet. The girl on the platform looked up fully now, her eyes wide in shock, her silver blue skin shining under the twin suns. Ethan's voice was calm but cold. "She's coming with me," he said. The executioner growled again. "You will die for this, human." "Maybe," Ethan replied, "but not today." With one quick motion, he sliced the girl's chains using his plasma knife. The chains clattered to the ground for a second. She couldn't move, her legs weak. But Ethan caught her with one hand, steadying her. The city's alarm sirens began to wail, lights flashing red across every building. "Target is rogue." Ethan's earpiece crackled again. "Mercenary Ethan has gone rogue. Capture him." Ethan ignored it again. He turned to the girl and said quietly, "Can you run?" Her voice was barely a whisper, but she managed. "Yes, good," Ethan said, pulling her close. "Stay with me." Blaster fire erupted from the crowd. Red and blue energy bolts flying in every direction. Ethan spun around, pulling the girl behind him as his shield module activated, creating a glowing barrier. The two of them ran, pushing through the crowd, past shocked faces, past angry soldiers. Ethan didn't care anymore about money or contracts. He didn't even know why he was doing this. All he knew was that when he looked into her eyes, he couldn't walk away. As they disappeared into the smoke and chaos, the whisper in his mind returned one last time. This time it said, "Thank you." Asterisk smoke filled the air as Ethan ran through the twisting streets of Veltrex 9. Behind him, blaster shots lit up the sky, red and blue bolts flying past his head. His left arm held tightly around the alien girl, Soraya, her thin body trembling but still holding on. Her silver blue skin shone in the flashing lights, but her Face was pale, scared. "Keep moving," Ethan said under his breath, voice sharp and steady. He knew these streets well, but now everything felt different. One moment he was a mercenary, protecting the city for credits. The next, he was a fugitive, running with a girl everyone wanted dead. A voice crackled in his earpiece. "All units. The human mercenary has gone rogue. Target is with him. Capture or kill on sight." Ethan ripped the earpiece out and crushed it under his boot. Soraya stumbled, nearly falling, but Ethan caught her. "I can't," she whispered, her voice soft like the wind. "I can't keep up." "Yes, you can," Ethan said, eyes scanning the alley ahead. Just a little further. Suddenly, the alley split in two directions. Ethan cursed under his breath, then made a quick choice. He turned left, pulling Soraya along. The walls here were closer, darker, smoke curling like ghostly hands from burning trash piles. Somewhere far behind, he could hear the hoverbikes coming closer. He pressed his hand against the wall's scanner panel, hoping his old code still worked. The panel beeped once, twice, and finally turned green. A hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow passage. Ethan pushed Soraya inside first, following right behind, the door closing behind them with a quiet hiss. Inside, it was almost completely dark. Only a faint emergency light blinked every few seconds, casting red shadows. Soraya leaned against the wall, her breaths quick and shaky. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, looking up at Ethan. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why are you helping me?" Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his choice pressing on his chest. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe because I hate watching someone get crushed for no reason." Soraya's eyes lowered, her voice even quieter now. "They were going to kill me for something I didn't do." Ethan knelt down in front of her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "What did they accuse you of?" he asked. Soraya closed her eyes, the purple light fading slightly. "They say I betrayed my own people, gave information to the enemy," she whispered. "But I didn't, I swear." Ethan's hand tightened slightly, his mind already guessing. The truth, someone powerful must have set her up, someone who didn't want peace, only war. The tunnel shook slightly as something heavy moved above them. "We can't stay here long," Ethan said, standing up again. "Come on." Soraya pushed herself up, legs still weak, but now she walked without help. Together, they followed the passage until it opened into a hidden docking bay. An old transport ship waited there, dusty but still functional. Ethan's lips pulled into a thin smile. "Lucky," he muttered. "I stashed this years ago. Just in case." He led Soraya up the ramp, sealing the door behind them. Inside, the ship smelled of oil and old metal, but it was safe. Ethan dropped into the pilot's seat, flicking switches, bringing systems back online. Soraya sat beside him, her small hands gripping the edge of the console. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Anywhere but here," Ethan replied, voice low. "Hold on." The ship rumbled as the engines fired up, shaking dust from every surface. Outside, more sirens wailed, lights flashing against the docking bay door. Ethan pushed the thrusters forward, blasting the ship into the sky. As they broke through the clouds, Soraya let out a slow breath. For the first time since Ethan had seen her, her face relaxed slightly, but even now, Ethan knew it wasn't over. Veltrexnane's defense ships would follow. The bounty on his head would spread across the galaxy, and still, he couldn't bring himself to care. As stars stretched before them, Soraya turned to him again, voice barely above a whisper. "My name is Soraya," she said. "Thank you." Ethan glanced at her, one brow raised. "How do you know my name?" he asked. Soraya hesitated, then answered with something that made Ethan's skin go cold. "I've seen you." "In my dreams," Ethan said nothing, fingers tightening on the controls, and somewhere deep inside, he felt a shiver, not from fear, but from something else entirely, fate, maybe, or something far stranger. The black sky stretched wide around Ethan's ship, stars twinkling like frozen sparks. Inside the cockpit, Ethan sat quietly, his hand steady on the controls. Beside him, Soraya sat with her knees pulled close to her chest, glowing eyes staring out the window. For the first hour, there was silence between them. Only the hum of the engines filled the air, but peace never lasted long in the galaxy. Incoming transmission. The ship's computer beeped. Ethan's jaw tightened. He flicked a switch, opening the message on the small holoscreen. It was not one signal, but three. First, a bounty notice flashing in red. Wanted human mercenary. Ethan Voss. Alive or dead. Reward. 500,000 credits. Right below it, wanted. Alien female, species. Veltran, capture only. Reward, 1 million credits. Ethan cursed under his breath. That didn't take long, he muttered. Soraya turned to look at him, her voice soft. What does it mean? It means, Ethan said, shutting off the screen, everyone will be looking for us now. Suddenly, warning lights flashed across the console. Tracking signatures detected, the computer said. 2 ships following. Ethan's hands moved fast, flipping switches, pulling the ship into a sharp turn. The stars outside spun wildly. From behind, 2 small attack crafts appeared, weapons lighting up in bright yellow. Blaster bolts shot past their ship, shaking the hull. Soraya gripped her seat tightly. Are they ... here to kill us? She asked, voice shaking. Probably, Ethan said, calm but serious. Hold on. He pressed down hard on the thrusters, sending the ship into a steep dive through an asteroid field. Rocks as big as buildings floated around them, spinning slowly. In zero gravity, Ethan flew between them like a knife cutting through cloth. Blaster fire kept coming, lighting up the stones with explosions. One asteroid cracked in half behind them, sending shards flying. Soraya's eyes widened as she watched, her fingers glowing faintly with nervous energy. Ethan noticed but didn't say anything. The girl was more than she seemed, he had known that. From the start, Ethan, she said suddenly. I can help. How? Ethan asked, still dodging rocks and lasers. Soraya didn't answer right away. Instead, she closed her eyes, placing her hand against the metal wall beside her. Her glowing skin shimmered brighter now. And then, something strange happened. The ship's system lights flickered, then steadied again. The engines grew quieter, smoother, faster. Ethan's eyebrows raised slightly. What did you just do? I connected, Soraya whispered. My kind. We can link with machines, make them stronger. Ethan didn't have time to be surprised. With Soraya's help, the ship's speed doubled, pulling away from the enemy crafts. The attackers fired one last volley, but the shots missed within moments. The radar showed nothing behind them, just empty stars. Ethan leaned back in his seat, breathing out slowly. You're full of surprises, he said. Glancing at Soraya, she opened her eyes, looking tired but calm. I only did what I had to. Silence. Returned for a few minutes, until Ethan broke it. We can't keep running like this, he said. Sooner or later, someone will catch us. Soraya's voice was quiet but sure. I know. That secret you're hiding, Ethan asked. The thing they want ... What is it really? Soraya looked away, her eyes dim now. I carry the codes, she said softly. Peace codes, Ethan frowned. Peace codes? Soraya nodded slowly. If both our kinds used these codes, the war would end, she said. No more fighting. No more death. Ethan stared at her, his mind running fast. That explained everything. Why both sides wanted her dead. Why she had been marked as a traitor. Peace was bad for business in a galaxy full of soldiers and weapons. And now, because of his choice, he was caught right in the middle. Ethan stood up, walking to the storage locker in the back of the cockpit, pulling out 2 ration packs. He handed one to Soraya, who took it with both hands, looking almost surprised. This isn't going to be easy, Ethan said, sitting back down. You ready for that? Soraya opened the ration pack slowly, taking a small bite before answering. I have been ready. For a long time, she said, voice calm. Ethan couldn't help but give a small grin. Shaking his head, "You're something else, Soraya," he said. "Really?" She looked at him, eyes glowing faintly again, and for the first time since this whole mess started, there was a tiny smile on her face too. But neither of them noticed the new signal blinking quietly on the edge of the console. A larger ship, even faster, even deadlier, was already on their trail. And this time, there would be no running. The stars outside the ship looked peaceful. But Ethan knew peace was an illusion. The larger enemy ship had appeared on the radar 20 minutes ago. Now it was closing fast, no matter how hard Ethan pushed the thrusters. "Too big to outrun," Ethan said under his breath, hands moving quickly across the control panel. Beside him, Soraya sat quietly, watching his every move. Her eyes glowed faint purple, a silent sign of worry. "Where can we hide?" she asked softly. Ethan scanned the maps, then saw something, a small moon nearby, marked as uninhabited. It was covered in thick jungles and storms, perfect for losing the tracker. He turned the ship toward it without wasting a second. "Hang on," he said. "It's gonna get rough." The enemy ship fired just as they entered the moon's atmosphere. Bright red plasma bolts scorched the sky, one hitting their rear engine. The ship jolted violently, alarms screaming from every console. Soraya gripped the seat tightly, her voice tense. "We're hit, I noticed," Ethan replied, eyes locked on the view ahead. Smoke filled the cockpit as the ship spiraled down. Ethan fought the controls, pulling hard to level them out. Below, dense green jungle stretched as far as the eye could see, with flashes of lightning splitting the sky. With a final slam, the ship crashed through the treetops, branches tearing at the hull. The impact threw Ethan and Soraya forward, safety belts straining, metal groaning. Then, silence. The ship sat half buried in mud and broken trees, smoke curling from the engines. Ethan coughed, shaking his head clear. "You alive?" he asked Soraya, voice rough. Soraya nodded slowly, her skin scratched and glowing faintly where the energy inside her was trying to heal. "I think so," she whispered. Ethan unbuckled his harness and stood up, checking the damage. One look told him the truth. The ship wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. "We need to get out," he said, grabbing a small pack in his rifle. Soraya followed, her steps shaky but steady. Outside, the air was heavy with heat and moisture, thick leaves dripping with rain. The sky rumbled, thunder rolling across the jungle like a living beast. "Stay close," Ethan said, moving through the trees with practiced care. Soraya walked just behind him, her eyes wide as she looked around. The jungle wasn't quiet. Strange animal calls echoed from all directions. Suddenly, from the shadows, a shape lunged at them, a four-legged creature with sharp teeth and black scales. Ethan reacted instantly, raising his rifle and firing. Creature fell with a hiss, smoke rising from its wound. Soraya gasped, her hands glowing again. "I can help next time," she said, voice steady despite the fear. "I believe you," Ethan replied, giving her a quick nod. They moved deeper into the jungle until they found shelter, a small cave hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, it was dry and quiet, lit only by the soft glow from Soraya's skin. Ethan set down his pack and sat, checking a small holomap. "We'll wait here until night," he said, "then move again." Soraya sat beside him, silent for a long moment. Finally, she spoke, voice low. "Why do you trust me so easily?" she asked. "You barely know me." Ethan looked at her, then shrugged. "Same reason you trust me," he said simply. "We both don't have a choice." Soraya's eyes glowed a little brighter, but there was sadness in them too. "I had people I trusted once," she whispered, "and they turned against me." Ethan said nothing for a while, only listening to the rain outside. Then he answered quietly. "I know that feeling," he said. "I used to fight in human wars. Saw people betray each other for credits, for pride, for nothing." Soraya's fingers touched the stone floor lightly, her voice softer than the rain. "I thought if I helped both sides, if I gave them the peace codes ... Everything would change. It will, Ethan said firmly. But first we have to survive. Soraya looked at him again, studying his face. Then, without warning, she leaned forward and placed her hand lightly over Ethan's. Her skin was cool, her touch gentle but sure. "Thank you," she said, voice steady now, "for believing me." Ethan didn't pull away, didn't say anything. He only nodded once. Holding her gaze, outside, lightning flashed again, lighting up the jungle. And somewhere in the dark sky, Ethan knew, the enemy was still looking for them. But for now, in that small cave, there was only quiet and trust. The kind that didn't need words anymore. Night fell slowly over the jungle moon. The sky above the trees turned deep blue, filled with stars, more than Ethan had seen in a long time. Ethan sat just outside the cave, leaning against a smooth rock, rifle resting across his lap. Beside him, Soraya sat quietly, arms wrapped around her knees, her silver blue skin glowing faintly in the dark. For a long while, neither spoke. Only the quiet sounds of the jungle and the gentle rustle of wind through leaves filled the air. Finally, Soraya broke the silence, her voice soft and thoughtful. "When I was younger, I thought stars were living things," she said, looking up. Ethan glanced at her, one brow raised. "Living things?" he asked. Soraya nodded slowly. "My people say, stars watch us. They see everything we do. They remember when we are gone," she said. Ethan gave a small, quiet laugh, shaking his head. "That's a nicer story than what I was told," he said. "Where I come from, stars are just gas and fire." Soraya smiled faintly, her glowing eyes reflecting the sky. "Maybe they're both," she whispered. Ethan didn't argue. Instead, he leaned back further, eyes following the patterns of light above them. The stars seemed peaceful tonight, but Ethan's mind wasn't. He had been running his whole life, first from wars, then from bad choices, now from bounty hunters. And sitting here beside Soraya felt different, dangerous but quiet, like standing still in the middle of a storm. After a while, Soraya spoke again, her voice quieter this time. "Ethan ... She said slowly, "If something happens to me ... I want you to finish what I started." Ethan turned to look at her, frowning. "Don't say that," he said firmly. "Nothing's happening to you." Soraya's eyes lowered. "You don't know that," she said. "The people hunting me ... They'll never stop." Ethan felt a cold weight settle in his chest. He knew she was right. The bounty was too high, the peace codes too valuable. "Still," Ethan said after a pause, "I didn't drag you out of that city square just to watch. You give up now." Soraya's lips curved into a small smile again, but her eyes still held that sadness. "I was alone for so long," she whispered, hiding, running, always afraid. Her hand moved slowly, brushing against the cool stone. Beside her, then, there was you, she said, voice barely above a breath. "You didn't even know me, but you stepped in anyway." Ethan stayed silent, his hands resting on the rifle, but his eyes softened as he listened. Soraya's hand moved again, this time resting gently against his arm. Her touch was light, cool, and calm. "You changed everything," she said, looking at him now, eyes glowing brighter. For a moment, Ethan didn't know what to say. His life had always been about fighting, surviving, getting paid. Feelings didn't belong in that world. But sitting here with her hand on his arm and the stars above them, it didn't feel so strange anymore. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice lower than usual. "Back on Earth," he said, "I had a sister." Soraya tilted her head slightly, listening carefully. "She was like you," Ethan said slowly, "always believing in peace, always trusting people." "What happened?" Soraya asked gently. "She died in the first wave of the war," Ethan said, his voice flat. "She trusted the wrong person." Soraya's hand tightened slightly on his arm. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Ethan shrugged once, his face calm but his eyes heavy. "That's why I stopped trusting," he said. "Until now, I guess." Silence returned between them, but it wasn't Heavy this time, it felt. Shared, like both of them carried the same weight for once. Ethan looked down at Soraya's hand still resting on his arm, then back up at her face. Her purple eyes glowed softly in the night, watching him carefully. Without thinking, Ethan moved. His hand, resting it lightly over hers. Neither of them said anything. There was no need. In that quiet moment under the stars, two broken lives felt less broken. Trust wasn't easy, not for Ethan, not for Soraya. But here, in the middle of a wild moon with enemies chasing them, it felt real, and neither of them wanted to let go. Jungle Moon slept beneath the stars, but Ethan and Soraya could not rest. The quiet was broken by a sharp beep from Ethan's wrist device. His eyes snapped open, muscles tensing. Movement, he whispered, sitting up fast. Soraya stirred beside him, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They found us? She asked softly. Ethan checked the small screen, his voice low but serious. Big ship, too close for a mistake. Without wasting time, they grabbed their gear, stepping quietly from the cave. The jungle felt different now, heavier somehow, as if it also knew what was coming. Above the trees, they both saw it, a human military dropship, floating silently like a predator. Ethan narrowed his eyes, his grip tightening on his rifle. They sent my old team, he muttered, voice colder. Than before, your team? Soraya asked, confused. Ethan's face darkened. I used to run missions for them, thought they were honest. Thought they cared, he said. As the ship landed, armored soldiers stepped out, guns raised, helmets hiding their faces, but Ethan already recognized the man walking in front of them. A tall figure in heavy black armor with a red mark on his shoulder, General Merrick, the man Ethan once trusted. The man who had led Ethan's squad into battles that didn't need to happen. Ethan. Voss, Merrick's voice boomed through a speaker. Step forward. Ethan stayed where he was, rifle ready. Soraya standing beside him like a silent shadow. You know how this ends. Merrick said, give me the girl, and you walk free. Soraya's hand brushed against Ethan's arm, her voice barely above a whisper. You can go, she said. Don't risk your life for me. Ethan didn't even glance at her, his eyes locked on Merrick. Is that what you told my sister too? He said loudly, when she trusted you. A flicker of something crossed Merrick's face, quickly hidden. She was a soldier, Merrick said flatly. Just like you. Just like I thought you were. Ethan shook his head slowly, anger simmering under his calm voice. You lied, he said. About the peace codes, about the war. It was never about survival, was it? No, Merrick admitted, his voice hard. It was about control, control through fear, through endless war. The sky rumbled above them as thunder rolled in again, lightning flashing through the clouds. Merrick raised his hand, and the soldiers aimed their rifles. This is your last chance. Voss, Merrick said. Don't make me kill you too. Ethan glanced at Soraya now. Meeting her glowing eyes for a moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan gave a small, tired smile. I told you once, he said softly. I don't leave people behind. Soraya's fingers tightened slightly around her small weapon. Ready to fight beside him, Ethan took a slow breath, stepped forward. Then suddenly, faster than anyone expected, he dropped to one knee, rifle raised, firing first. The blast caught one of the soldiers in the chest, sending him flying backward. Chaos erupted, blasters lighting up the jungle with red and blue bolts. Soraya moved like lightning herself, her hands glowing as she hacked into enemy weapons through her strange energy. Some rifles jammed, some turned against their own users. Ethan fought like a man with nothing left to lose, precise and fast, each shot finding its target. But Merrick wasn't like the others. He drew his own weapon, a heavy plasma cannon, and aimed it at Soraya. Ethan saw it happen in slow motion, his heart freezing in his chest. No! He shouted, pushing Soraya aside as the cannon fired. The blast hit Ethan full force, sending him crashing against a tree, armor cracking. Soraya screamed, running to his side as more soldiers surrounded them. Merrick stepped forward now, calm again. Voice cold as stone. "I gave you a chance, Voss," he said, raising his cannon again. Soraya knelt beside Ethan, her glowing hands pressed to his chest, energy pulsing as she tried to heal him. But Ethan's eyes were still open, his voice rough. "But alive, I'm not." "Done yet," he growled, pulling a hidden detonator from his belt with his last strength. He pressed the button. Explosions erupted from Ethan's ship in the jungle behind them, fire lighting up the sky. The blast wave knocked soldiers off their feet, shattering Merrick's cannon. Soraya helped Ethan up as smoke and fire filled the air. "We have to go," she said urgently. Ethan leaned on her for support, pain flashing across his face. But still, he managed a grin. "Next time. Remind me not to trust old friends," he muttered. Together, they disappeared into the jungle once more, leaving behind fire, betrayal, and the ruins of old lies. But this time, they carried something stronger with them, truth, and the will to see it through to the end. Smoke still hung in the air as Ethan and Soraya moved deeper into the jungle. Ethan's steps were slow now, his armor cracked, his breath uneven, but he kept going. Soraya walked beside him, one arm wrapped around his waist to steady him, her skin glowing softly in the dark above them. The night sky opened again, stars shining through the smoke like silent watchers. After some time they reached a clearing, far from the wrecked ship, far from the soldiers left behind. Ethan dropped to his knees, resting against a large stone, his face pale. "We can't keep running forever," Soraya whispered, kneeling beside him. Ethan gave a weak grin, wiping blood from his lip. "No," he said, voice rough. "But we don't have to." Soraya tilted her head, confused. "What do you mean?" Ethan pulled a small device from his belt, half burned, blinking slowly with a soft blue light. "This," he said, holding it up, "is connected to every satellite in this sector." Soraya's eyes widened. You recorded everything?" she asked. Ethan nodded slowly. Merrick's words, the truth about the war. "All of it," he said. Soraya stared at him in silence, then looked up at the stars again. "If we send it now, the whole galaxy will know," she said softly. Ethan leaned back against the stone, eyes half closed. "Then do it," he said, voice quiet now. "It's your mission." "Always was." Soraya hesitated only a moment, then took the device, her fingers glowing as she linked with it. The blue light grew brighter, brighter still, until it flashed once and went dark. "It's done," she whispered. Ethan's chest rose slowly with a tired breath. "Good," he said. "Now ... We wait." For several long minutes, they sat together in the clearing, nothing moving except the quiet wind through the leaves. Then, far above them, something began to change. The satellites, once silent and controlled by the military, lit up with new signals. Holograms appeared in the sky across nearby cities. Ethan's voice echoed through speakers everywhere. "There's been enough lies." Soraya's glowing image followed, her face calm and clear. "The war was never ours," she said in the message. "Now, it's time for peace. On Veltrax 9, on distant human colonies, in hidden alien strongholds." The truth spread like wildfire. Fighting slowed, weapons lowered. Even those who wanted power could not stop the wave of truth once it began. Back on the jungle moon, Soraya turned to Ethan, her voice trembling now. "We did it," she said. "We really did it." Ethan opened his eyes again, smiling faintly. "Told you," he said quietly. "Couldn't leave you behind." Soraya's eyes shimmered as she looked at him, not just from her inner light now, but from something else, something more human. She reached out, placing her hand gently against Ethan's cheek. "You're different from the others," she said, voice soft. "Not just a soldier." Ethan chuckled once, rough and tired. "Guess I got tired of being just that," he said. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The stars kept shining, and for once, there was no sound of blaster fire or engines chasing them, only quiet, only peace. Soraya leaned closer now, her face inches from his, her voice lower still. "Where do we go now?" she asked. Ethan's hand moved slowly, resting against hers. "Anywhere we want," he said. "For once. Anywhere we want." Soraya smiled, and in that moment, something passed between them, more than trust, more than survival, something deeper, something that did not need words anymore. They stood together as dawn's first light touched the sky. Ethan Voss, the human mercenary who had once fought for pay, now fought for something real. Soraya, the alien girl once marked for death, now stood as a symbol of hope. And as they walked forward, side by side, leaving the jungle behind, there was no more running, no more hiding, only freedom and something more.